Good morning, third grade. Our targets for today are: I can represent unit and non-unit fractions using paper strips. Today, third grade, we'll begin looking at fractions with units that are not circles. We will see units that are represented with rectangles and also squares. First, let's warm our brains up by thinking about our fraction circle pieces. You're going to need your fraction kit for this warm-up, so go ahead and make sure you have it out. Pause the video if you need to go get it. I want you to name the red piece in 3 different ways by changing the unit. What are some different units you could use? Well, one of the units you could use is the yellow piece. I want you to make your yellow piece the unit. If the yellow piece is your unit, what fraction of the unit is 1 red piece? Oh yes, I'm sure you found out that it takes 6 red pieces to completely cover the yellow unit. That means that the name of 1 red piece is 1/6. Now, third grade, let's make the dark blue piece your unit. If the dark blue piece is your unit, what fraction of the whole unit is 1 red piece? Use your fraction circles to determine the fraction. I'm sure that you just discovered that it takes 3 of the red pieces to completely cover the dark blue unit. That means that the fraction of 1 red piece on the dark blue unit is 1/3. Finally, let's make the pink piece your unit. Go ahead and get the pink piece out and see what fraction of the unit is 1 red piece. Oh yes, I'm sure you found it takes 2 red pieces to completely cover the pink piece. That means that 1 red piece is 1/2 of the pink unit. Great job warming those brains up with me, third grade. Go ahead and take a moment and pause the video. Put your fraction circles away. We won't need them again today. Let's review some words you know. Fraction. A fraction are equal-sized parts of a whole. This circle is representing a fraction because the unit is broken into 2 equal-sized parts. This rectangle is also representing a fraction because the unit, the rectangle, is broken into 8 equal-sized parts. This triangle, however, is not representing a fraction because the 2 parts that this rectangle is broken into are not equal. They're not the same size or the same shape. You know that the unit is the whole. It's the object that is divided into equal-sized parts. We know that the unit can change, and the unit can be any item that we're breaking into equal-sized parts. When we use our fraction kits, we can use the black circle as the unit, but we could also use any of the other pieces, like we just did in our warm-up. In your real life, you often will see different shaped items as your unit. A common unit that we would divide into equal-sized pieces in our real life third grade would be a pizza or a chocolate bar. Today we're going to look at some units that are different shapes. We've spent a lot of time looking at units that are circles with our fraction circles. Today, third grade, we're going to be looking at some rectangular paper strips, as well as some rectangles that are drawn on paper or on my smartboard, and even some squares. So our unit will be different shapes today. A unit fraction is what we call one of the equal-sized parts that a unit is divided into. So on this circle, the unit fraction is 1/2. The unit is divided into 2 parts, and the name for one of those parts is 1/2. When you look at this rectangle, the unit fraction is 1/8. The unit is broken into 8 equal parts, so the name for each part, or just one part, is 1/8. Oops. Non-unit fractions are more than one of the equal-sized parts that a unit is divided into. You can see that this circle unit is divided into 4 equal parts. 2 of them are covered with blue pieces. This is a non-unit fraction because more than one of the equal-sized parts are covered. This fraction is 2/4. There are 4 total parts in the unit and 2 of them are covered. Now look at the rectangle. This is also a non-unit fraction because, again, I noticed that more than just one of the equal-sized parts is covered or selected. There are 8 total parts and 4 of them are shaded. So this fraction is 4/8. Just yesterday, we began learning about a new way to represent fractions. It's called the fraction symbol. When we write a fraction using the fraction symbol, there is a numerator, the number on top, and a denominator, the number on the bottom. Your numerator tells the number of selected or shaded parts. So if you look at this picture of a fraction, you can see that there are 2 pink parts. The numerator is 2, showing that there are 2 pink parts, 2 parts shaded or selected. The denominator is the number on the bottom of the fraction symbol. The denominator tells you the total number of fractional parts the unit is broken into. In this case, 6 is the denominator because there are a total of 6 parts that this circle unit is broken into. We would read this 2/6. We always say the denominator as a fractional part, not just a number. So I would not say 2/6, and I would instead say 2/6. Today, third grade, we're going to begin looking at different shaped units. Today, third grade, we're going to be looking at some fraction strips. When you received your fraction kit, you should have also received some white paper strips. They're long, skinny paper strips that look just like the paper strips on my screen. You can, if you have some extras, you can grab some to fold along with me. Today, we're going to be looking at how a person could fold or partition or break apart a rectangular paper strip into fractions. When we want to fold 2 equal parts, we bring the 2 ends together to create a fold right in the middle of the strip. You can see a picture of the strip being folded here, and you can see when you open it up that you have 2 parts with 1 fold or partition right in the middle. If we want to create fourths, we fold the strip back into halves and then we fold it in half again. When you open it up, you would find that there are 3 folds now, creating 1, 2, 3, 4 different parts. When you want to fold 3 equal parts, third grade, it can be a little bit tricky. One way to do it is to fold one end of the strip so it comes to the middle of the remaining part, and then you fold the other part back over. You could also do it by forming a letter S to get close to 3 equal parts, and then you pinch the folds to create the crease. So let's talk about folding halves and fourths. When you want to fold halves, you start, like we talked about, by creating 1 fold in the middle. If you are just partitioning or breaking apart a rectangle like I am, you do 1 line right in the middle. That creates 2 different parts. I want you to think in your brain, if we have taken our unit, the rectangle, and we've broken it into 2 parts, 2 separate parts, what would the name of the unit fraction be? What would I call one of these 2 equal parts? You're right, our unit fraction is 1/2. So we can label each part with the unit fraction, 1/2. This is 1/2, this is also 1/2. Now let's talk about fourths. When you want to take a strip and fold it or just draw lines to break it into fourths, we start by making halves. We fold the strip or draw a line to cut the strip into 2 equal parts. Now we have 2 halves. If I wanted to take these halves and make them into fourths, third grade, what I do is I cut each half in half. So I can either fold it in half twice, or if you're just drawing on paper like me, what you can do is you can draw 1 line in each half to cut the half in half. You now have 3 folds or lines cutting apart your rectangle, and it makes 1, 2, 3, 4 separate parts. I want you to think in your brain, third grade. What would the unit fraction be for this rectangular unit? We've broken it into 1, 2, 3, 4 separate parts. So what would I call one of those parts? What is the unit fraction? You're right. The unit fraction is 1/4. So each one of these parts, each one of these parts is 1/4 of the whole unit. Now, third grade, let's talk a little bit about thirds. Folding thirds can be very tricky. Like we talked about earlier, you can either make an S with your strip, or you can fold 1/2 about 2/3 of the way in, and then fold the other half back over it. When you want to draw thirds onto a rectangle, you have to look to see where can I put 2 lines so they're equally spaced apart. You can see that we draw 2 lines to partition it into 1, 2, 3 spaces. The three spaces are equally far apart. Now I want you to think third grade. What would the unit fraction be here? If I have divided or cut or broke apart my rectangular unit into three equal parts, what would I call one of the parts? What is the unit fraction? You're right. The unit fraction would be 1/3. Each of the parts is 1/3 of the whole unit. Now, third grade, if I want to fold or draw sixths using a rectangle, here's what I need to do. I actually can start by making thirds. So here you can see I've taken my strip and I've partitioned it or broken it into 1, 2, 3 separate parts. I have made thirds. Now, if I want to make sixths, I need to cut each third in half. So I could either fold my third strip in half, or if I'm drawing, I cut each strip, each 1/3 part of the strip in half, like this. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 separate parts. I have broken my unit into 6 equal-sized parts. I would like you to think in your brain, what is the unit fraction if I have cut each of my strips? What is my unit fraction if my unit is broken into 6 equal-sized parts? What do I call one of the parts? You're right. The unit fraction would be 1/6. Now, third grade, you just heard that we can start by dividing or breaking apart our unit into thirds and then cutting each third in half. That will make 6 equal-sized parts. We can also, though, third grade, make 6 by making halves first. Here you can see I've cut my unit in half, and then cutting each half in thirds. I've broken each half into thirds. Either way, I end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal-sized parts, which we know are called 1/6. Each part is 1/6 of the whole unit. You can see that I've shown that here. Each part is 1/6 of the whole unit. Lastly, third grade, we're going to talk about folding eighths. When you want to fold eighths, you start actually, third grade, by folding halves. You're going to take your unit and you're going to fold it. Oops, let me fix that. Oops. You're going to take your unit and you're going to fold it or partition it in halves. You've got 2 equal halves. Then third grade, you'll make fourths by folding or cutting each half in half, like this. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 equal-sized parts. Then third grade, once you have fourths, if you want to make eighths, you cut each fourth in half again, like this. You either fold it in half again or cut each part in half again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I have 8 equal-sized parts. What would I call one of these 8 equal-sized parts? What is the unit fraction? You're right. Each of these equal-sized parts is 1/8 of the whole unit. So here you can see that this is 1/8, 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 and this is 1/8. Each part is 1/8 of the whole unit. Okay, third grade, I would like you to take a look up here. Let's go ahead and look at these fractions. We're going to label them and think about how they're alike and different. What fraction is this circle representing? If you need to get out your fraction circle kit to help yourself figure it out, you're welcome to do that. There's the black piece is the whole, and there's one dark blue piece on it. What fraction is that one dark blue piece representing? Oh yes, that one dark blue piece is 1/4 of the whole. Now, third grade, look at this fraction strip. I want you to think about how much of the fraction strip is shaded. Oh yes, 1/4 of this strip is shaded as well. Let's think for a moment. How are these drawings alike and how are they different? Well, I noticed that one way they're the same is that they're both broken into 4 equal parts, and they also both have one piece shaded or selected. So the fraction they're representing is the same, 1/4. I noticed that they're different though because this top fraction is the unit is a circle, but on this bottom fraction, the unit is a rectangular paper strip. Even though the units look different, they're both representing the same fraction. Third grade, I want you to help me here with this. Third grade, I want you to help me here with this. Here you can see I have taken my black circle piece for my fraction circle kit and I've put one tan piece on it. What is this? What fraction is this representing? Oh yes, this is clearly representing 1/3 of the whole unit. Now, if I want to show 1/3 on this paper strip, I need to cut it into 3 equal-sized parts and then shade some of them. How many of the equal-sized parts should I shade to show 1/3? You're right. I'll shade 1 of the 3 equal-sized parts to show 1/3. This fraction is also 1/3. Look at the next fraction circle. What fraction is this representing? Oh yes, this is representing 2/3. To represent that on my paper strip, of course, I'll break the strip into 3 equal-sized parts. How many of the equal-sized parts should I shade to also show 2/3? You're right. I'll shade 2 of them. 2 of the 1/3 equal-sized parts is showing 2/3. Finally, look at this shape. What fraction is this unit showing? Oh yes, this is showing 3/3. There are 3 total parts in the unit and all 3 are shaded. I'm going to partition my rectangle into 3 equal-sized parts. How many of them should I shade to show 3/3? You're right. To show 3/3, I would partition it into 3 equal parts and shade all 3 of them. You can see that these fractions, 1/3 and 1/3, 2/3 and 2/3, 3/3 and 3/3, can be represented in multiple ways. We can use our fraction circles or our fraction strips to represent the exact same fraction. Here, third grade, is another new shape. You can see we have a fraction strip here. Here, third grade, let's take a look at another unit. You can see here we have a square as well as a rectangular paper strip. I'm noticing right away that the square is broken into 4 equal-sized parts. Take a look at this. What fraction is this shape representing? You're right. This is representing 1/4. If I wanted to show that same fraction 1/4 on this paper strip, how many parts would I need to break this paper strip into? How many parts do I partition this into? You're right. I would need to break or partition this rectangle into 4 equal-sized parts. If I wanted to show that same fraction, how many of the 4 equal-sized parts would I need to shade? You're right. I would shade 1 of the 1/4 parts to show the same fraction, 1/4. Here's another fraction. What fraction is this picture representing? You're right. This is representing 2/4 because there are 4 total pieces that the unit is broken into and 2 of them are shaded. I'm going to partition this rectangle into 4 equal-sized parts. How many would I shade to represent the same rectangle? Yes, I would shade 2 of them. 2 of these 1/4 parts would represent 2/4. Take a look at this shape. What fraction is this representing? You're right. This is showing 3/4 because there are 3 parts shaded and 4 total parts in the unit. If I want to represent the same fraction, 3/4, on this paper strip, I will partition it into 4 equal parts. How many of the 4 equal parts do I need to shade to show 3/4? You're right. I need to shade 3 of the 4 1/4 parts to represent 3/4. Finally, look at this last shape down here. What fraction is this representing? You're right, this is representing 4/4. And I'm going to again partition this rectangle into 4 equal-sized parts. How many of them would I need to shade to show 4/4? Yes, I would shade all 4 parts to represent 4/4. Thank you for learning about representing fractions using paper strips with me today. We're going to learn more about it tomorrow. Have a great day, third grade.